What is voice? Voice is the element of speech that provides the speaker with a vibratory signal upon which speech is carried. In our society today, it is considered an art and also a powerful tool used in everyday life. What is a voice disorder? A voice disorder is when a person's quality, pitch, and loudness differ from those of people of similar age, gender, cultural background, and geographic location. It may also exist when the structure and or function of one's laryngeal mechanism no longer meets the voice requirements established for the mechanism by the speaker. The success rate of managing the voice disorder depends on the speaker recognizing that there is a problem and also working towards improvement.
What does someone who has a tracheostomy or a ventilator-dependent type of disorder sound like? Those with a trach don't speak using their vocal folds. Their air travels through an opening in their neck, so that causes their voice to sound a little bit different. Those who have a ventilator attached to their trach controls their breathing, which can cause their speech to sound choppy or louder or softer compared to their normal voice.
When discussing potential controversies that come with the ventilator and trach population, there are not many for the trach population. However, there are more for ventilators. So with ventilators, there's the decision to continue life by putting in a ventilator, and there's also the decision to end life by removing a ventilator. So it depends on what the family wants, and also just the ethical dilemma of each option. In addition, there's some restrictions that come with having a ventilator and a trach, some hygienic restrictions, and just things that need to be taken into consideration when getting a trach or a ventilator.
How can an SLP help someone with this type of voice disorder? A treatment plan should be developed based on a communication assessment to include possible recommendations for speech, eating, drinking, and swallowing. It is also helpful for an SLP to educate the client and assess appropriateness for a cuff deflation trach and use of a speaking valve, also known as a Passy-Muir valve.
So what is the SLP's role when working with tracheostomy patients? It is the SLP's role to help with speech, language, and swallowing problems. The SLP will work with the patient's doctor or respiratory therapist in order to find ways for them to speak. If the patient cannot speak, the SLP will find other ways for them to communicate. This may include writing, pointing to a board, or using technology. The SLP can also help with eating and swallowing by coming up with different types of food that the patient can eat, different forms they could eat it in, and different ways to swallow. SLPs also complete communication and swallowing evals and treatment plans. Lastly, the SLP is considered to be the lead communicator between patient and care providers because they educate the patient on tracheostomy care, speaking valve placement, and safety for eating and swallowing. So as believers, we are called to respond in an encouraging way. In the book Disability in the Gospel by the author Michael Beetz, it is said that caring for people with disabilities is what the gospel is all about. Every human being is unique and cannot be duplicated. As Christians, we are called to help break down barriers and achieve a mutual sense of ability and opportunity. We can offer care and dignity to everyone, affirming them as those who are made in the perfect image of God.
Hi, my name is Kip Henderson. I am a screenwriting major at Biola University. I'm a senior here, and I read comic books.
Thank you so much for being here today and letting us interview you. My first question is, when did you get your trach?
I got my trach when I was 22 months old. The circumstances that I got it were, I'd already had several medical conditions that I was born with, all of them having to do with joints and stuff like that. And so they were doing a minor operation on my neck, and they put the oxygen tube in the wrong place. And so when they moved the laser, my throat exploded. And that was when I was a baby, obviously. And the scar tissue closed up around my airway. And so I couldn't get any air to my mouth or to my nose. And so they put in the trach so that I could breathe. And so yeah, it was when I was 22 months old, and I've had the trach ever since. For the first 5 years of my life, I couldn't vocalize, so I communicated entirely with sign language. After that, they were able to open up the airway enough to where I could vocalize, but because of the damage done to my throat, I no longer had control of which tube, my esophagus or the airway, my food went down. And so with the airway opened back up, it meant that food could go down into my airway. And so around that time, I could talk, but on the flip side, I could no longer swallow.
So did that mean did you get a G-tube?
Yes, yeah. So I currently get all feeding through my G-tube.
Right.
And yeah, that's how I eat.
Right. So I'm sure that was a difficult decision for your parents to kind of weigh between communication, vocal communication, and like oral feeding.
It was my decision.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't very hard.
Yeah.
I still get to taste food.
Yeah.
I usually eat it, spit it back into a cup. And it's pretty amazing to be able to communicate with others. It's pretty easy trade-off.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. What are some questions you typically get?
Yeah, so people are very curious. I normally get top ones are what are the tricks? What does this thing do? In which I normally respond, it's like an extra nose. It helps me breathe. How did you get it? In which I tell them about the accident that happened. Let's see. They're usually very surprised that the filter comes off. They, like, sometimes I'll take it off and they're like, whoa, you can take off the trach?
Yeah.
And I explain, this is just a filter. This is the trach itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get, how often do you change it? This I change every day roughly.
Yeah.
And then the trach itself I change 2 or 3 times a year, so not very often.
And is that something you can do yourself, or do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So around middle school, when I switched to a private Christian school, the school system no longer supported a healthcare aid, and so I had to prove to the doctor beforehand that I was entirely self-sufficient.
Wow.
And so I changed my trach, changed my T-tube, everything like that. Other questions? One big one is, why do you hold it when you talk? And that's because if I don't hold it, all of the air escapes out of my trach. And so when I hold it, it allows all the airflow to go up through my nose and mouth and actually vocalize instead of constantly taking in breaths of air. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Other questions are, does it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt. Those are the main ones.
Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so what are some challenges with having a trach, and how have you worked to / are working to overcome them?
Yeah, so one of the challenges, as I mentioned, is getting water in the trach. And so that resulted in, like, at first I tried to work with the challenge, and then I just learned, like, just completely avoid it. So, like, I used to go to pool parties and, like, dangle, like, put my feet in the water or, like, hang on to the edge. But accidents happen, and then you just get sick for 2 months.
Pneumonia. So.
Yeah, so that's, I just learned to stay away from water. But I do take showers. You just have to make sure that the water hits your chest and you put your head in like that. And, so showers have become okay.
Yeah.
Other challenges are like what to do about people asking questions. Because oftentimes, like, especially after the story of the incident that happened when I was a child, people tend towards like a pity reaction, like, oh no, I'm so sorry that happened to you. So that's been a challenge, but one way that I've learned to, like, combat that is this. I can make funny noises
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
trach, and I love it. I think it's great.
That's
And so,
awesome.
like, showing people that, like, I have fun with this,
Yeah.
and I don't need to be pitied, because I'm obviously enjoying myself,
Yeah.
making tooty noises out of my neck.
I love it.
Yeah, that's one way that I confront that challenge. Another way is just being engaging, making eye contact, making sure people realize it's not like a mental disability as well. Being upfront about like talking to people, like oftentimes I've noticed people's eyes will like flip to my mom whenever she's around as a source of authority. And so like directing the conversation like, no, you're talking to me.
Yeah, yeah, I can answer your question.
I'm the authority on, and she knows more about health conditions and stuff than I do, but like
Yeah,
as far
the
as like,
conversation.
yeah, the conversation that gets directed at me, so like making sure I draw the conversation and maintain eye contact, and also like taking my artwork around with me so that people immediately know that like I'm highly proficient at something. Helps the challenge of like pity, and they realize like, oh, I'm really like doing something.
Yeah.
Other challenges, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.